Hey everybody, Pastor Hans here. Hey, today on the Daily Dose, we're continuing a conversation that we began this last Sunday. This last Sunday, I gave a message where we talked about living with a growth mindset. What do I mean by that? I mean, how is it that we live a positive life when we're often drugged down by the negativity of others? How do we live a positive life in a world that often seems so darn negative? And today we're going to ask a question I think that's deep in every one of our hearts when it comes to the life of faith. And the question is this: what does God have to say about our struggles? What does God have to say about those times, those seasons in our lives when we go through struggles, when we hurt, when we experience pain, when things don't go our way? Because I think it's in those seasons that we are especially vulnerable to the negativity of others, the negativity we see in the world all around us. From my vantage point, it seems that often when we face struggles, when life isn't easy, it's often, when it comes to the life of faith, that we do one of two things. One thing we often do is we'll say, you know what? This must be my fault. You see, I must not be good enough for God. I must not be faithful enough. I must not be strong enough. Must not pray enough. I must not read my Bible enough, go to church enough, give enough. When troubles hit us, when our lives go through periods where we kind of throw our hands in the air and go, God, where are you? I think we often can have that sort of attitude. We believe that I'm not good enough for God, or I haven't done the right things for God. Another position we often take when it comes to faith during those seasons in our lives when we struggle is this. We say, God must have abandoned me. Or even worse yet, maybe there isn't a God. You see, we get this thought in our head that if I can't see, he must not be, right? God must not be out there if I'm experiencing all that I'm experiencing. If I'm going through this, if our world, if there's so much hurt and so much violence, so much pain, so much hunger, there just can't be a God who would allow all that. We believe that our struggles are the result of an absence of God. Well, I want to paint a different picture for you today, a very different picture, because in several places throughout the story of our faith found in the Bible, we get an absolutely different picture. For example, the author of the book of John says these words: I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world, listen to this, in this world you will have trouble. The author of the Gospel of John admits it. He says it. We're going to go through struggles. You will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world, Jesus says. Well, that isn't just a New Testament message. If we go back to the book of Joshua, we hear the author of the book of Joshua saying these words: be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified by the things that you will experience. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. You see, rather than this idea that sometimes God abandons us, or that I need to be good enough for God, otherwise God will make his way somewhere else, the author of the book of Joshua seems to suggest to us that God will be with you and me absolutely wherever we go. And in the book of Deuteronomy, Moses, as he's preparing to leave his people, he says these words: be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of those around you, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And again in verse 8, it says, the Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Why? Because we have a God who promises to never abandon you. The author of the book of Romans, Paul, he writes these words: nothing will ever separate you from the love of God. You see, friends, if there's one thing from the very beginning of the book, this book we call the Bible, to the very end, we hear a consistent message. And that's this: the presence of problems never means an absence of God. The presence of problems never means the absence of God. Friends, you have a God who is always with you, who will never abandon you, and wants you to know that whoever you are, whatever you've been through, your faith is enough. You are enough. And God will be with you every step of the way. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Hey, if you missed the message this weekend, I want to invite you to head on out to calvaryalec.org, to our website, and there you can catch up. We had a great time having a conversation all about having a growth mindset. How do we stay positive in a world where so often we're drugged down by the negativity of others? Have a good one.